Afternoon and good morning, depending where you are. Welcome to Connect Africa and to one of our series is here with Kwame Gonza. Today we are here to talk about the release of Julian Assange. But what Julian Assange might have to do with Africa, you might say, as we speak here. So it will be, of course, Julian Assange, his release, and the African media space. What can we learn from it? As you know, if there's nothing related to Africa, we will not bring it here. But we are part of the world, so everything that's happening in the world, it matters to us. So, welcome, Kwame.
Thank you, Mahlet. I hope you can hear me well.
Loud and clear. So hopefully this will be until the end. Even if it's not, we are not afraid. Challenges might happen, and we will come over it. Okay. So for today, that's our topic. As I said, quickly in 1 minute, why do you think is this topic important? So that people will know why they have to sit and listen to us.
Thank you, Mahlet. We're going to talk about, of course, the release of Julian Assange. But many people will ask, why do we have to talk about Julian Assange, who's a white person, and he's from Australia, and stuff like that. But these things are very important because even when we are waging a war against imperialism on the international stage, as Pan-Africanists, we still need allies when we go out there. So whether you like it or not, there is also white people who are waging a very serious war against this imperialist system. I will take you back to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah himself. You look at one of the people who were most loyal to him, who was June Milne, who was his secretary, whose assistant, whose personal assistant. She was a white person, and this was a very loyal person. So this does not mean that the jobs which our people can do, we should give them out to maybe to white people, but it is to say that we need allies, and therefore there is certain things which are going on the international stage that we need to pay attention to, particularly the issue of Assange's arrest, and the reason why he was arrested, which we are going to talk about, of course. The reason why he was arrested is because he exposed the contradictions within the neo-colonial system, the imperialist system. That on one hand, they say that they are promoting, democracy, and on the other hand, we see them killing people, innocent people, and civilians in wars like Iraq. So he exposed these contradictions within this neo-colonial system. So when he exposed this, then this helped us also to have a point on which we can latch onto to make a point, also to make our case. So these contradictions, whenever they are exposed within the imperialistic camp itself, they help us to, to get a strong point, to make our case strong. All right. So I think there's somewhere where they say that if your enemy is destroying himself from inside, you just encourage him to continue that process of destruction of themselves from inside. You don't stop them. You don't want them. So that is why we have to talk about this case of Julian Assange and how he was released and why, because they have been hunting for him. They have been persecuting him for the last 15 years. And of course, there is young people. There's people who are young, they would like also to learn about this. So this is the reason why we have, and of course, it is in the media.
Okay, fair enough. I think our people know now why they have to sit and listen to us. Now, before we start with my series of questions to you about him, which of course we will start first. You will tell us about him, his personality, and what we call the background for us. But I want to bring to your attention, our audience here, to this. Sometimes we have our companies here in Africa that sponsor us, and that we who are doing a good job, we want to talk about it. Kwame, I will give the floor for you to tell us about this company.
Okay, thank you very much, Mahlet. So this is Hybrid Motors. This is the website. You can go on there and see it. Is www.hybridmotorsafrica.com. www.hybridmotorsafrica.com. So this is a company which we started as Africans, and what we do is that we import the electric cars majorly from China, because we don't import them. I mean, because we don't manufacture them here in Africa. We currently don't have the capacity to manufacture them. And if you look at China, also it started with the importing before it started going into manufacturing. But what we are saying is that this company, which was started by Africans, if you need an electric vehicle and you are in Africa or you are coming from the diaspora, you can reach out to us. Our numbers are over there on the website. You can contact us. So we publish also news. Let go downwards. You will see the news downwards there. Downwards. Yeah. So we all go downwards. Downwards. So we have also the publication of news regarding what's going on in the automobile industry. So the plan is that once we get enough support from the African space, since we are entering into the electrical age, then if we get enough support, then we can start also manufacturing these vehicles from the African continent. So that is the plan. The payment plan, we have very friendly payment plans for these vehicles. You pay only 60% through the bank, and if we don't bring your vehicle, then the bank has the right to give you back your money. But you pay 60%, and when the vehicle is brought, then you pay the 40%, and then you receive your vehicle and you move on and you enjoy yourself. So they are purely electric, and some of them are hybrid. So the purpose is to reduce on the cost of fuel. As you know, majority of the countries, transport costs are going high. You saw people demonstrating in Kenya because of transport costs and fuel costs. So we believe that this is a solution which can be, in the interim, help to, for people to save some money in their pocket. So that is hybrid motors, and we welcome you, anyone. So today, the hybrid motors Africa is one of the sponsors of the program today, which we are going to talk about. Thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you indeed, Kwame. So there we go. It's not just, problems here and there in the continent, but these kind of things are also important for our people to support them, to know the initiative. Also, you as living in the diaspora, but with an African root, if you want to do something, so you can also ask and know the way, or maybe you want to buy something for your families. I mean, there are certain things that comes with it, but we will start also, this kind of things on the energy industry, like a series of it, like on the energy, on oil, so that it will help you if you are thinking of investing in the continent, which we believe you should. If you have any question, we will pin it in the comment section, the website and the contact number. Now we go to back to Julian Hassan. So tell us about, it's better to start with him. He was released, I think, as of yesterday or the day before yesterday, and the circumstances of, I mean, you touched it a bit, his arrest, and many of us don't know. So as a person, see us as a person who don't know anything and give us a background that will be relevant for the next discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mahlet, once again. Julian Assange, of course, is a journalist. I think he himself sees himself as a journalist who worked with a group of his friends, and they co-founded an organization or a media platform, an internet platform, which is called WikiLeaks. I know that a lot of people know about WikiLeaks. So, in the formation of this WikiLeaks, what they wanted to do or to achieve was that they wanted to expose that news which is hidden by governments, the bad things which governments do around the world. They get those documents from anonymous sources, and they publish them on their platform, on their media platform. So through this process, that is when Julian Assange was approached by someone who worked actually in the United States Army. This person was called Bradley Manning, who served in Iraq, and the person gave him the documents because this person first approached the New York Times and the Washington Post, and they refused to listen to him. So he approached WikiLeaks and Julian Assange and his friends and his group and his colleagues. So Julian Assange, they were able to accept the documents which Bradley Manning gave them. Um, they published, and now in one of the things which were published, the so-called classified documents and emails, which are nothing but criminal communications between these groups who call themselves the rulers of the world, who is the United States Department of State and Defense, who are carrying out crimes on the global populations, but then they are saying this should be classified information, which is criminal, and they should face the law and the courts of justice, like the International Criminal Court or International Court of Justice. They call it classified, to be able to prevent themselves from being prosecuted in the courts of law. So Bradley Manning took these documents and gave them to WikiLeaks. And WikiLeaks published these documents for the world to see. And one of the things which was horrifying, very horrifying in those documents is that there was videos which showed the United States military in Iraq killing innocent civilians and even journalists. And mind you, this is a country which professes to be the champion or the god of human rights and democracy. And here they were in Iraq, shooting and even recording it on video. They were recording it on video. They recorded these and even they had them in their archives. That is where Bradley Manning took them because he had access to classified information. Now, this horrified the world, and the United States, of course, reacted, to it by saying this is classified information; is not supposed to come out. In it, it tried or it attempted to discount the fact that what it was doing in Iraq was a crime. This is a crime against humanity. And the fact that you guys are the ones who are always making a lot of noise on top of the world about human rights. And then you're talking about freedom of the press, but you are killing journalists, and then you are killing, innocent people in Iraq. And as if that was enough, originally, when this war was started, it was started on lies, and people were killed. Over 1 million people were killed in Iraq, and you started this war on lies as the United States government. And I know that they want to always pin it on one person and say it's the George Bush administration or is the Biden administration. But this is a system. This is the United States system. Okay, these people have a system of murdering and and causing harm to the populations of the world and lying. They have a media system which is attached to Pentagon and attached to the United States Department of State. So it is not about George Bush or Biden, President Biden. So me, I do not buy into this narrative that it is the George Bush administration and it is the Biden administration which is doing it, or is the Obama administration. These people have a system, and that system is for destroying countries, is killing innocent people, while at the same time professing to be the kings of human rights. I mean, they are the gods of human rights, and then the gods of freedom of speech and all these things. So the United States, of course, as we said, reacted negatively to this, and they called it, classified information is not supposed to come out, even though they were breaking laws. And so they started, persecuting Julian Assange, and he hid in an embassy in the I think it was in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and he lived there for almost 5 years. They hunted for him and they haunted for him. They persecuted him until they got him. The British government, of course, the British government is always following what the United States is doing. the British government caved into the pressure from the United States, and they arrested him and put him in the Belmash prison where he has been all this long. But thanks, of course, to his wife, very, very strong woman, she has been mobilizing and fighting for him. And of course, there is something really funny also which happened, that during the time when he was staying in the Ecuadorian embassy, she was able even to get pregnant with their children. She used to go there, and she was able to get pregnant because she was his wife. And this is something which people used to make fun about also, that woman is very strong, that she was even able to to conceive and go and get children from the man, because they are before he was, before they started persecuting him, she was not pregnant, that they did not have any children. But maybe she thought that he was going to be killed. Of course, the United States and the CIA, they contemplated even killing Julian Assange, during this period when he was in the Ecuadorian embassy, in Britain, before they arrested him. And even these right wing politicians in the United States were, blatantly, plainly, openly speaking about that they should assassinate him. And of course you hear of people like Hillary Clinton, who was also, angry because some of the emails which were published by WikiLeaks were used, during the campaigns, where she lost, the presidency to Donald Trump. So she was really angry about Julian Assange and stuff like that, because some of the emails appeared them and then it appeared there, in WikiLeaks. And and Donald Trump, of course, used that to win the presidency. It's one of the things he used to win the presidency. So these are the reasons. These are the reasons why Assange was arrested. And of course, as we are going to see later, it was a huge attack on the freedom of people or citizens to have access, to the crimes committed by powerful people, which powerful people at the same time are claiming that they are the champions of human rights and freedom of speech everywhere. Thank you so much, Mahlet.
Thank you, Kwame, for enlightening us, as who is Julian Assange. Very good. Now, so our topic for today is Julian Assange and his release from the prison and the African media platform or space. But before we go to the African media, let's talk about how important it is in general of his release. Is it seen as a victory for media in general, like for media, of course, for freedom of for media freedom?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that his arrest itself was an attack on the media, but also we have to differentiate here in the media. When we are talking about the media, we have some forms of media who have given into the pressure of the neo-colonial system of the imperialistic powers. They have given into the pressure of the neoliberals. So if you go to the United States, for example, even though these people they claim, like if you go to Fox and NBC News, they may appear, and Washington Post and all these, they may appear as if they have a difference. But for us, as the people who were colonized, or the so-called global south, who are being persecuted day and night and being lectured to by the neo-colonialists and the imperialists, they appear the same. Okay, so there is media platforms which you can see and say, okay, these media platforms, I mean, they are impartial in their outlook. And then on the other side, you have media platforms like Washington Post and New York Times, where this information was taken first. It was taken first, and they refused to publish it. And it is because of certain reasons. Because these media platforms, they see themselves as part of as part of the imperialistic system. So that is why they say they will not publish that kind of information for the public to know, and yet the public needed to know. But of course, it is a victory for for independent media. If we are talking about independent media, because the Washington Post and the New York Times, for example, right now we don't consider them as independent media, because they get their instructions from the State Department in the United States, or Washington, and in Washington, and also the State Department, and Pentagon. So this is where they get their instructions and the news which they are pumping out daily. And even when you look at the platforms, you see that they are saying the same things. In many times, they are different, but they are saying the same things, which are just talking points from the State Department and Pentagon and the White House. So it is a victory in itself for independent media like our media platforms, because the United States, you see, Assange is from Australia, but the United States was claiming that it has a right to arrest him, even though he's not a United States citizen. So me and you, we could be here and discuss something, and the United States could claim that it has a right to come and arrest us. And it doesn't have that
Exactly.
right because we are not United States
And
citizens.
and how
So,
worse it is when we have governments that will not protect us. Okay, go on.
yes, yes. So that becomes worse. That even becomes worse. Because the Australian government itself, it felt shame. I mean, it felt some level of shame, and it reached a point where it said that no, this thing cannot continue. Okay, but of course it was after the pressure, it was the mobilization. People were demonstrating in Britain, people were demonstrating all over the world, even in the United States itself. People were constantly demonstrating and even holding Assange up as a hero. So all these things contributed to this, and of course shaming the United States, the process of shaming the United States, and speaking out, people saying this is an attack on the media, this is an attack on free speech. Okay, so it is important, I think, to notice this. And of course, what I said, that his wife also was very instrumental because she was a really strong fighter. She's been out there in the media. She's a very good speaker. She's been speaking out there. It is really incredible the work which she has done, in helping him to be freed from this kind of, persecution by the United States. So the United States
She's a
saw it.
woman, in her
Yes,
respect.
yes. Powerful, powerful. She's a powerful woman. Yeah, so this is the good thing about having really loyal women, women who stand by their men, incredible. She was very powerful. So it is, in general, it is a victory for the media and freedom of speech, and also for specifically for independent media platforms like ours. This is very important because now we cannot fear to criticize these aggressors, and also to point out their weaknesses, the fact that they are the same people who are spreading lies, that they are spreading democracy, but they are killing over 1 million people in Iraq. And this is information which is very important for the African people, especially for us, because we are an African platform. This is information which is very important if we put it out there to the African people, because many Africans have mistaken the United States for some belligerent power, a superpower, which has come here to help us as Africans. But when you check behind what is happening behind the scenes, they are actually exploiting and stealing from us, and that is the reality. They are not coming here to help because they love us. They are not here because they love us and they are good people, but because they want to exploit our resources, as we will see in many of the programs, and as we've spoken about it in numerous times. So it helps us to see through. It helps our people to see through, and it helps us as an independent media to speak with confidence, so that we can help our people to see through this hypocrisy, this level of hypocrisy of the people who are claiming that they are democratic and therefore they are spreading human rights. So I think that is a great victory for the media, and especially independent media platforms.
Okay, that's good news. But there's always, when something good happens, we ask, oh, how come these people are doing this? Okay, what is the trick behind? So, because we are so familiar with how they are operating by now, we know. Now that brings us to the next question. So now many people have said that America and the Biden administration are using this opportunity out, being, of course, opportunistic because of the upcoming election and the weight of criticism that they are facing because they supported Israel in Israel's genocide in Palestine. Now, is this true? Because it looks like these countries what they are doing these days is that the opposite of what it makes so much noise about on the international stage, which human rights and media freedom or ACA free speech.
Yeah, so definitely, I think that the Biden administration in the United States could be using this, as a clickbait, as a bait to bring in more votes. To say that, can't you see now we are acting on the things which we preach. We talk about media freedom. We are releasing, Julian Assange. So it could be that, just to relieve some pressure, because if you have the Assange issue and the campaigns have been going on for a long time, and as we are seeing, people have been demonstrating on streets. When the courts have been there, when Assange was taken to court, people have been coming and demonstrating on the streets in Britain. So it could be a tactic for them to relieve that pressure, because now you see they have issues. People don't agree with the war in Ukraine. People don't agree with the fact that the United States is supporting Israel in its genocide against the Palestinian people. Even the American people, they don't agree with this, because we saw this, that even Spain asked to join South Africa's case at the International Court of Justice. So you can see that International Criminal Court, and then International Court of Justice. So you can see that the United States is in a tight corner, and there's a lot of pressure, and this pressure is even translating within inside, as you have seen that on the universities, on the various education institutions of higher learning in the United States. The people have been demonstrating against the fact that the United States is still pouring weapons into Israel, and these weapons are being used to kill innocent people, in Palestine. And the Palestinian people, more than 40,000 innocent women, children, and elderly, all people who have nothing to do with the Hamas, have died, and the United States has played a huge role in this. So that's why Joe Biden has been called Genocide Joe. These days they call him Genocide Joe, Genocide Joe, because he's aiding the genocide of innocent people and the killing of innocent people. So when you go on the media side, that they were still persecuting Assange, and they are still persecuting people like Snowden, who also published the fact that, who put out documents to publish the fact that the United States has been spying on its own citizens in the United States. It has been collecting data and using it against its own citizens, and then it has been also collecting data and spying on fellow heads of state. Like, documents were published that the United States was spying on the chancellor, of Germany, Merkel, and then France, and all these countries. So it was a big shame for them. So they are still persecuting people like this. So I think that it was a strategy for them to see that they relieve at least some of the pressure, so that there can be something positive, because Biden is seeing that he's losing the vote to Trump. And because if you go to the projected polls, what they are projecting, the numbers are showing that Trump is leading, is leading Biden. So I think that at this point he's trying to do, even though he's in a very difficult situation, he's in a very difficult position, he's trying to do whatever it can bring him any positive result within the United States itself. So it could be, as you said, a tactic for him to try to get a little bit of relief, and have a positive image, before the electorate.
Okay, thank you, Kwame, for clarifying that. So, one of our audience, Mimale Ramasadi, if I pronounce it good, she was, if it's a she or a he, okay, I don't know, but is asking about the websites that we have just shown about the car. Maybe she came or he came late, the hybrid motor. So, it's better we leave an email. But again, for those who came late, maybe in half a minute, you can basically her question is, or his question is, let me just go back. Just 1 second. People are in and out. So just for them to get Do you have details about the car deal or investment that Kwame, she's asking one, the other audience, Kwame is inviting us to? We now have to look south, promoting and supporting our own people. So in terms of those who wants to, I don't know, maybe invest or buy, just say something and then we move on. Mute.
Yeah, what we said is that we are selling the vehicles, but definitely, if you feel that you want to talk about investment and you want to invest in, that's fine as a business. But what we are doing is that we are sellers, we are marketers and sellers. That's why we have a website. Let me put it in the chat so you can see the website. The website is www.hybridmotorsafrica.com. So you can go out there and look at the vehicles. So the thing is that we bring the vehicles from anywhere around the world, any type of vehicle. If you want any type of vehicle, and especially if you are in Africa and you want to buy that vehicle, then we bring that vehicle for you. We talk about it and we see the payment plan, any type of vehicle which you want. Mallet, if you can copy it for me and put it in the chat. I tried, but I think my chat was having a challenge.
No,
So
you put it, I can see it. The Juma Booting is also asking, are you blocking? I am not blocking anyone's comment. So perhaps somebody's trying to censor us here. So no, we're not blocking anything. It's all open.
yeah, Mallet, I've sent the website link so he can go there. The phone numbers are there, and then he can reach out to us, and then we can take it from there. We can talk about it from there.
Yeah, okay. Let me just uh, put it. Uh, Yeah, there. All right, then. So now I want to bring some very burning question here. And because somebody talked about, commented, or is it the Juma, about the African American guy, Abu Mumali Jamal, who has been prisoned, a political activist, also journalist, if I'm not mistaken, who is sentenced to days. Now, with that, I want to ask our last topic or question for today is, of course, relating it to Africa, how important it is, his release. Uh, do you think if Julian Assange, of course, being Australian, if he was black, do you think the same end of this story we would have seen?
Yeah, so I think that is a that is a really important question which you asked. I mean, it is unlikely that he would have been released if he was black, even if the black people put up a lot of demonstration, because as we know, of course, we are in this world where they say there's free speech and all that stuff, and then there's freedom for everyone and stuff like that. But we know in reality, there's no freedom for everyone. It's no free speech for everyone. And I believe that one of the reasons why the Democrats in the United States don't like Donald Trump is because Donald Trump would come out and say things the way they are. Like he would tell you things that this is the reality. Okay, he tells you that the United States is here to dominate. That is it, and he tells you that your countries are really shithole. For us, we are over here to dominate these countries. Because one time he was asked about the fact that the United States is taking Syria's oil. Okay, and he said that we will take the oil. We are keeping the oil from Syria. They were, even up to now, they are taking Syria's oil. They are stealing Syria's oil. And they asked him a question that, what about the fact that these are sovereign states? And he said, sovereign states? Give me a break. What are you talking about? What sovereign are you talking about? So you can see that this was the difference, or this is the difference between Donald Trump and the Democrats. All right. So and actually, Malcolm X also spoke about this. Spoke about the liberals. All right, and then the right wing. Malcolm X said that he prefers a man who tells who tells him who he is and what he is and what he represents, other than a person who says, okay, I'm your friend, And then when you face the other side, the person, uses a spear and spears you in the back and kills you. So this is what he called the liberals, who are the Democrats. And then he said he rather deals with the right wing Republicans who tell you that we are going to bomb you, we are going to come and bomb you, because you know that they are coming to bomb you. Other than Biden and Obama, who say we are not bombing you. But when you look at Obama and his administration, of course, these are the Democrats, they carried out the biggest amount of drone death, across the world, whether in Pakistan, Somalia, and all these countries, Yemen. It is Obama who carried this out. But when you look at Obama, the image which he presented before the world was an image of a clean person. So this is the difference. Now, why have I brought this up? Is because the reality in the world is different from what is shown. Okay, we are shown that, okay, Africa has, you know, the biggest number of seats at the United Nations, for example. Africa is an equal partner on the international stage, or in the international affairs and the United Nations. But in reality, that is not true. All right, it is not true, because we see that even for us, since the 1960s, when Nkrumah asked for a seat, a permanent, a seat at the Permanent Security Council for Africa, it has been more than 60 years since Nkrumah started asking for that in 1960, that Africa also has to have a seat at, as a permanent member of the Security Council. Africa has not been given. So you ask yourself, why, if we are all equal, why are we not being given a seat as permanent members of the Security Council as Africans? So this shows you that we are not equal before the world. Now, I said all these so that people can understand when I say, when I respond to your question, that if Assange was black, of course, he would not get that chance to come out of prison, because how they see us as second class citizens of the world. Even though, of course, we fought against slavery, and then we gained some dignity, and then we fought against colonialism, and again we gained some dignity. During slavery, they called us 3/5 of a human being in the United States Constitution, which means we were 3/5. That is 60% of a human being. We are not full human beings. So what they purposed to say was that we are 60% humans and then 40% animals. But of course, when we defeated them, with the defeat of slavery, and then later the defeat of colonialism, then we gained some level of dignity, but we didn't gain it fully. So what they used to say blatantly, now they say it when they're hiding. They hide and then they say it. So they do things covertly. So that is the essence of neocolonialism, is to do things covertly, which were being done during slavery and colonialism in the open, is to do things covertly, is to exploit our countries covertly. It is to minimize us as a people and undermine us covertly and say these are the outcasts of the world. Okay, covertly, that is done covertly. So they would respond differently to when their fellow white person is challenging them. They would respond differently to when a black person is challenging them or is exposing their crime. So if Assange was really a black person, coming from some of our countries, it would have been even much worse for them, or even they would have killed them by now. They would not even be alive by now as we speak. That is what I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Kwame. And of course, the best example is Abu Mali Jamal, who is this is a black political activist, the African American. That is the best example. So, also, I mean, I have seen so much activists, African Americans, talking about him. I call them like the conscious group. Not all African American are, conscious of. People even within in America itself who are leading the struggle, and in terms of supporting them, it's only a certain group, but nothing has been done. Now, coming to the last question, of course, it's relating it to the Africa media space. Now, do you think that the way the web, whether it's the mainstream media or whatever, you said the wife of Julian has Assange has played an important role. So, do you think that would have been the same for an African person, let's say, who has been who's jailed, like Julian Assange, that our medias will come and give the opportunity, the platform, the time, and to talk about it? They would have advocated for this. How, and in general, not only for people who are in jail, in terms of bringing or shedding a light on our challenges that the continent is facing on daily basis. So there are a lot of examples. I mean, most of the national broadcasts are busy with copy pasting of the mainstream media. So, or are our medias are totally also, corrupted and colonized?
Yeah, so let me just go back a little bit to touch on. I think you spoke about Mumia Abu Jamal.
Yeah.
And all these people are in prison. Way back they were fighting for African freedom way back in the 1960s. And people like Mutulu Shakur, who, they released him and then he died. They simply released him because he was
Asata
dying
Shakur,
of
the one
cancer.
still in
Yes, so
Cuba.
all the yes, the Asata Shakurs, she's in Cuba. Mutulu Shakur, they arrested him and he suffered in prison until his death. So they just released him because he was dying. They knew that he had cancer. I think he had contracted, prostate cancer. So they knew that he's gonna die in 4 months, in a few months. So when they released him, he was out for just a few months, and then he died. So this is how they treat you if you are black. If you are black, that is how they treat you. But on the international platforms, they present themselves, especially the liberals, the so-called liberals, the Democrats, the Democratic Party, the Bidens and the Obama group. They present themselves as these are the people who care about human rights and care about Africa, and that's why I think that to some extent we have to be very angry with these so-called presidents who try to sugarcoat things. They try to sell us out while claiming that they are carrying out diplomacy, because the selling out normally is hidden behind the claims of the diplomacy. This is diplomacy. This is how diplomacy works on the international stage. And that's how they sell out. You look at people like Ruto, you look at people like Nanado, you look at people like Ichilema, the president of Zambia. I mean, these are all sellouts. These are blatant sellouts. Now you look at people like Cyril Ramaphosa and what he's doing in South Africa, destroying the people, the trust of the people, and they present it as diplomacy, in that case, so that they can sell out our people. And these are things definitely which we have to come out and start challenging on this continent, to show these people that this is really not diplomacy. This is selling us out, and we will not take it. We will not accept it. And the Kenyan people have shown this. Many people may think that, oh, Kenya's issue is just about the bill, the finance bill, and of course those demonstrations are even going on up to date. People now are insisting that they want to occupy the state house in Kenya, apart from the parliament and the bill, because Ruto came out and said they have scrapped the bill. We are not going to sign the bill. We are no, we are giving in. We concede, but the people still are insisting that we have to occupy the state house in Kenya. Ruto has to go. He must go. There is Ruto must go hashtag even on Twitter right now. It is trending. So I think that when we show them this, then they will understand that we are serious people. Like what Kenyans have shown Ruto, that you can't be moving about like this and doing these things. But when they do things like what Cyril Ramaphosa did, of giving out votes, I mean, he lost the votes. The ANC lost the votes, and then it did not go where it lost the votes. It went in the opposite direction. So this means that you are selling us out. You are not coming to look for us. So if the people in South Africa had come out, those millions had come out to demonstrate against this, these people, they would come to their senses. How did the Ruto come to his senses? He came to his senses after passing the bill in Parliament because of the pressure. Okay, so, but when we come out and talk about these sellouts and show them that you are sellout, then they will know that the people know what we are doing. The people know what we are really doing. But when we keep quiet, these people sell us out and we keep quiet, then they think that it is normal. It is normal to sell us out. It is normal to increase the taxes. It is normal for Cyril Ramaphosa to go and sell out to the people, to the Democratic Alliance, and not go and look out for them in the MK party or in the EFF where they have gone. So they think that it is normal. So I think that it is important, for us to speak out, against these evils and these people who are constantly selling us out. Yeah, so to come to your question, before which you said, before I touched on that, I touched on Mumia, Abu Jamal, and Dr. Mutulu Shakur. Uh, I think that the African media space
Yeah,
is,
if they are doing enough, to
you
bring the
know,
to yeah.
yeah, is chaotic. Is chaotic. We are really in huge problems for the African media space. It's only a few, spaces. You look at Kenya, for example, the major media platforms in Kenya. You'll be shocked. I checked that
Yeah.
the major online media platform in Kenya, it is owned by Ukraine. So it is not surprising that Ruto is supporting Ukraine. So the media platform, the major online media platform, which is called the Tuko Kenya, I think it is called the tuco.co, I think
Mm.
dot Kenya, dot ke. That platform, I saw that it is Ukraine which owns it. So you find that all when you talk about nation media, when you go to Uganda, they have a platform called the Monitor Publication. Uh, these this news platform, which is based actually in Kenya, but is owned by one gentleman called Aga Khan. I think he's from Britain, but he's originally, I don't know whether from Pakistan or somewhere there, or India or Pakistan. But right now he's a British, he's a British citizen. He owns these media platforms, so you can see that it's all imperialism which is penetrating. And these monitor publications in Uganda or nation media in Kenya is is known for fighting anything African, for fighting against African and promoting imperialism. So anyone who comes and opposes what's going to benefit, what's going to benefit Africans, those media platforms, they support that person. So they are there to promote neoliberalism. So what they are there to do is to promote anything that is un-African. That is what they are there to do. But they hide within themselves, they present themselves as Africans, but when you dig in the back, when you dig behind what's happening behind the scenes, you can see that the media platforms are not African, completely not African. They are coming from outside. The people who are investing in, and pumping huge monies in them, they are not African, and therefore they have an agenda of brainwashing our people. So you find that the platforms which are defending African interests are very few, even in the African space, and which is unfortunate, which is very, very unfortunate. So you see that instead of highlighting the real problems which are affecting the country, they don't. Most of our media platforms, I want people to monitor their platform, the media platforms in their countries. Very few people, very few of the media platforms, they really highlight, like, for example, the continental problems, like those ones which talk about, okay, the solution for us is to unify the continent. How many media platforms have you seen, talking about that? Very, very few of them. Very few of them on this African continent. So you see that they have divided themselves into supporting the two existing either political parties within that particular country, which parties are neo-colonial parties. So you see that these parties, like you come to a country like Uganda, for example, or you come to a country like Ghana, the media is owned by the two political parties, which are neo-colonial. You see, so one group of media is supporting one neo-colonial party, and another group of the media is supporting the opposite neo-colonial party, which is ruling the country. Now, this becomes a problem. Now, the African agenda is completely abandoned, completely abandoned. So now these media platforms become tools of neo-colonialism. They become tools of the neo-colonialist groups and neo-colonialist political parties in the country. And this is prevalent all across Africa, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So we have this for us shows that we have a lot of work to do on the African continent, and the emergency of independent media platforms and private media platforms like ours, like Connect Africa. I mean, there's a huge gap for us to fill there. There's still huge gap to fill there. So it is not only, it is not only important to have these independent media platforms for like WikiLeaks and for European countries, but also in Africa, it is very, very much needed because our media platforms in Africa have been majorly corrupted, mostly corrupted. All of them have, most of them have been corrupted, that they are only pumping out imperialist propaganda, copying and paste, like how you said. And maybe once in a while, when they feel like, is when they talk about Africa and the interests of the African people. They're not talking about the resources which we are losing, to these imperialist powers. The fact is that this should be center stage because it touches all of us. That these people are exploiting our resources, that the political parties, the neo-colonial political parties they are supporting, are selling our resources and enriching themselves. These media platforms, you never hear them dwelling on that. And yet this touches each and every one of us in the country, including them, the media spaces. But we have a lot of work to do. This is this signifies to us as Pan-Africanists that there's still a lot of work to do. We have huge work to do in the media space, in everything that new institutions in Africa have to be built, from media, from finance, from religious institutions. Everything, these new institutions have to be built by Africans ourselves, and supplant. We have to supplant the neo-colonial institutions. So I think that that is a huge work that has to be done on our continent.
Thank you very much, Kwame. Now, these are what I call extras, apart from what we planned, discussions will bring, to bring that will rise from the discussion itself, another question. And when you were talking, I was thinking, the best example is that that of something like Julian Assange might be is, for example, take Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chiombori and her case, how she was terminated just with a single paper like that. She was an ambassador of the African Union to the United States, and while she was there, the VOA, that woman interviewing her, she exposed the whole France thing. I mean, she was expecting it, but she just say, I cannot any longer just shut my mouth while she knows what France is doing in West Africa. And what happened in the next day, they have terminated her from that post. But how many of the African platform really have come and defended her? It was even recently, everybody was quiet. Everybody was quiet, totally. Yeah, so
Unfortunately, unfortunately, even the platforms in Zimbabwe, where she comes from, and in Ghana also, because the husband, Madame Shombori's husband, is from Ghana. So, but she was born, of course, in Zimbabwe. But all these countries, the media platforms never came out to defend her, like to come out and speak about it and say, this is not right. This is, what you guys are doing is not right. This is a Pan-Africanist. This is someone who has been defending Africa with all her energy. Why do you have to do this? So no one came out to defend her of our media platforms, and of course, which is very unfortunate. And of course, that is why we say that these media platforms, alternative media platforms like Connect Africa, are very important for us, for us to achieve those objectives of liberating Africa in every way. And that is why we are asking everyone to support the channel.
Yeah, so sometimes we go to the comments if we have time today. Yeah, it's okay. I'll start from the comments. It's necessary. Mamale Ramasodi said, yes, it's necessary that all these Afrocentric and Pan-African media platforms unite. Media is a powerful tool for liberation and development. They were talking about what the other network was. It's the African Diaspora News Channel was live streaming about the Kenya issue. And in Ghana, Sinovia, actually, Sinovia is here. Um, Sinovia said she was in Ghana and she said all the advertisement was about religion, as if, a religion can redeem the country or the continent. If you want to, if you have something to say, you are there in Ghana, go ahead.
Yeah, so definitely religion is a big business. It's
Oh
a
my
big
God.
business, and because it preys, on the desperate and the poor, and because the people have been impoverished, so then religion thrives. You know that it always thrives where the people have been disadvantaged. That is why when you go to the United States, the most religious people, they are our people. The Africans in the United States, or the so-called African Americans, as they call them. Here these days also they have other names, fundamentally black, fundamentally what, I don't know this, but of course for us we know them as Africans in the United States. So you can see that it is in these communities which are desperate and poor, that these religions mostly thrive. So it's the same thing, when you come to Africa, that religion thrives there. And so, because they see it as a business, so they continue all the way to even to advertise it. They get their own TV stations, they get their own, radio stations, and they keep pumping it out to be able to, of course, to brainwash the people and invite him for to be continuously, dominated and exploited.
Child of God is okay. This is for the second time, so let me just bring it. He's saying about the African Diaspora News Channel, and if you all get exposure, but the thing is, it's good. It's a good comment, but you have to know that even for us who are working independent, like this citizen journalism, uh, it's not always open, it's not always open. It's not as you imagine it. Okay, it's all independent media and people just can work together, but sometimes we find it hard to collaborate with others, or even for the sake of we have small subscribers, as you can see, but it's growing. It's definitely promising. It will get where it needs to get. Uh, but people
Yeah, but
are
definitely,
always
yes,
welcome to
yes.
advertise it or something. So there is this thing also amongst us. It includes us also, so we
Yeah,
have
I think Mallet, I think that we'll work on it, because we have reached out a couple of times. I think
yeah.
the Africa Continental Unity Party, we have reached out to Africa Diaspora Media News Channel, the one he's talking about. But of course, we have not been successful. But we have reached out to them a couple of times, and the point, I think he's making is clear. There's need to collaborate, at least to reinforce, our narrative. I think that is very important. I definitely think that it is very important for us to collaborate, and I think that we can do that. We can do that, even though we may have some. Of course, we will always have some few differences, but we need to work together. We need to work
Kwame,
together
I
more.
want you to bring related to this, even if it's so obvious, but people don't pay attention. Last time me and Kwame were, chatting via text, and when the first spot started its Africa Focus program, and what did you say to me? Now say that to these people.
Yeah, so I think that there's always the issue with the first post is from India. So what I was saying is that uh, they will always have their own interests as Indians, and also because they are Indians and from outside, they have their own interests. They have, of course, they have some preconceived notions when they are coming to the continent to report on anything. Uh, then they cannot look at things from the same point of view as we Africans, because we are Africans. So when we come to report on something, we report it from our point of view. And it may not be because they don't like us, but because they are not from here. They are not Africans. So they cannot look at things, you know, with the same lens. They have far different view because of the background and where they are coming from, and because of the interests they have their own interests. India has their own interests right now, that Adani, this first post, it belongs to Adani. who is the richest man in India. You see, they have interests. These Indians have interest in Africa, and they are growing, and their economy is growing, and they want resources and stuff like that. So, and they know that these are tools which the West has been using. All right. So I really don't think that this is a platform which Africans can rely on to get news about Africa
But
because
they
of the
do. You have to see the statistics. They do. They do
yes.
run, and for anything related to Africa, that's they run to that, and Wayon also this. But you said something, guys. You still didn't say it. You said, "Look, these are the things." That means it shows that when they start Focus Africa program, that African media platforms like us and others are not doing enough. That's
Yeah,
what you said.
definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, if you see that they have started, and it's very important that you brought it out, it shows that we are not doing enough, right? It shows that we're not doing enough. But it shows also that the Africans themselves are not supporting their own platforms enough.
Yeah.
All right. So that is also very important that it's not only the platforms, the African platforms that have not been started, but also the support needs to be there. And of course we need to be consistent and bring out these news and all the time and do analysis and comment about these issues that are happening all over the continent. But the people themselves need to support these platforms and their emergency and the fact that people are supporting them also shows that the African mainstream media, because we have the international mainstream media, but the African mainstream media is not doing its job. Is not, because look, all over the continent, how many TV stations or radio stations do you know that they are continental in their nature? Like the only TV stations maybe you can think of, is SABC of South Africa. But SABC South Africa also is in a condition which is very complicated. That is a neo-colonial, a completely, almost completely neo-colonial state. Even when you look at the presenters on SABC News or Newsroom Africa, in South Africa, you see that these platforms, in many cases, they slide back, they fall back into the neo-colonial mode of reporting news. That you see that there is really something missing. These are really not African in the way they are reporting, and that is a problem. So when a platform like First Post, even though it is not perfect in how it is reporting, but if it reports in a way that it is looking at the whole continent, then definitely Africans are going to support it because they want to see someone who's reporting on the whole continent. And platforms like newsroom, I mean Newsroom 24 or whatever it is, Newsroom Africa in South Africa, or SABC News South Africa is not reporting as it should on the continent, all the issues that are happening on the continent. And every now and then it falls back into the mode of reporting as a neo-colonial media platform. Then I mean we are in an era where Africans wants to see Africans want to see the
Yeah.
continent unified, and they want to see the African narrative pushed out to there. So every time if you fall out and then you fall back into the mode of being a neo-colonial platform, I mean, you put off people. So you can see that when the Indians come with their platform like Fast Post or Wion, they are not coming majorly from the Western point of view, but they are coming from the Indian point of view. So the Africans will see this as something new. They will be, representing something new, even though it's not perfectly representing what is African.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should finalize it here. Thank you all really for rooting here, for tuning in, for giving us your time and listening and engaging, commenting, asking. That's what keeps us going. Thank you again. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I assume most of you have subscribed, but if you haven't, please do so. Give it thumbs up if you like what we bring you here. Share the video with others. And if you want to help us further, you can find our PayPal account in the description section, so you can donate to that. But for those of you who have been donating, thank you again. And that was it.
And Malik,
Yeah.
don't forget. Let people not forget that we are here always on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for now. But if we get enough support, then we would like to be here all the time because the
Yeah.
continent is huge and the African people are many across the world. They have a lot of things which are happening. So we need to be reporting on these things, but we need support. We definitely need support. So uh, be, put up your notification, put on your notification for this channel, Connect Africa, and of course, Africa Reimagined, for every Tuesday and every Thursday and Saturday, we will be here at this particular time, this very time, which is 7 p.m. GMT, Ghana time, and which is which is 10 p.m. right in East African time, and then yes, and it is 9 p.m. in South African time, Central African time. Nigeria time. I think it is 8 p.m. Right, 8 p.m. in Nigeria.
Central, let's just say safely, Central African
Yeah,
time,
Central
8.
Central African
Yeah,
time.
and
Yeah, Central African time 8 p.m. West African
Eastern
time
time in the
7 p.m.
US, it will be 3 p.m.
Yeah, so if you are in the US, then you change that time, which is West African time, which is 7 p.m. Ghana time. You change it to the US time. If you are in Canada, if you are in the Caribbean, anywhere where you are in the world, you change 7 p.m. Ghanaian time to your local time. I think the internet even can help you to do that. So we are here every Tuesday. We are here every Thursday. We are here every Saturday. So make sure that you turn up and invite others to come and and share some of the information here, and also share the channel and help us to grow, so that we can serve the people much more. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, so next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, we'll be talking about Dangote, the energy industry, or is it the oil industry? Okay,
Yes,
but
so we'll
Dangote.
be talking about Dangote, definitely.
Yeah,
Dangote's achievements, and there is also some complaints. Dangote has come out with Aliko Dangote, the richest black man. I know people always talk about him and they say he's the richest African. He's not the richest African. He's the richest black man in the world. That is it. Because people they don't want to talk about him and compare to the United States, the fact that we have blacks in the United States and they are not doing well. So they don't want to talk about that. They say the richest African. So he is the richest black man or the richest black person in the world, and so he's the richest black person in the world. He has some comments he has made about industrialization in Africa, the fact that we are being held back. Certain international oil companies and international corporations destroying Africa's industrialization. So we are going to discuss all these things. And of course, we will talk about the Dangote oil refinery, which he succeeded in building, and it has been, a force for good on the continent. There's a lot of expectations in it, but it is at the same time facing challenges. So those are the challenges which we are going to talk about on Saturday as we move forward. Thank you so much.
thank you, Kwame. Let me just write this on the chat section for Yoruba about Africa Reimagined. He asked it here. This is how it is on YouTube. You can search it like this, and
Yeah, you should not search on. You should not search on. Don't search on Google. Search on YouTube.
yeah, okay.
YouTube videos. Yeah, search on YouTube
So,
videos.
yeah, so I put it. All right, so let's call it a day. And thank you. We will see you again on Kwame will be here again on Saturday, but I will try to bring you as much as possible with all the limitation, but also tomorrow, what's happening in the continent. Ciao, ciao. Bye.